Hello there, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are. It's me, Addison, your favourite friendly furbog, who hangs around the internet and talks about all things nerdy. And as per usual with this August, you will find us talking about Magic the Gathering, and most importantly about Magic the Gathering's format, Elder Dragon Highlander, EDH, or as it is colloquially known by everybody else, Commander. As we are doing the POMT, or the Command Fest POMT, which is just my little foray into learning the format and getting to know the community and getting people on. And it's been a blast. Thank you very much for joining us. And today we are joined by the Mana Dork himself, John. John, how are you, mate?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be here.
No, it's my pleasure. You guys in the EDH community, the Commander community, have been like really inviting, really passionate. If you've been tracking the episodes, and when more episodes are released, that's all you ever hear me talk about is like the passion and the excitement. That's, I think, has been really good, considering that I come from like modern, and modern people just kind of moan. Like, that's what we do. We moan about like new cards coming into the format and stuff. It's just like piles and piles of salt.
That can happen. I think it depends on the circles, but generally speaking, the EDH community is pretty welcoming. You know, we're here for a good time.
And don't get me started games about standard. But yeah, John, how about the first thing we do is we introduce you. You tell us who you are, what you do on the internet, and where we can find you.
Okay, so I'm John, or better known as Mana Dork John. I'm founder of the blog Mana Dork. I write lots of different things about EDH, deck tech, set reviews, strategy guides, that sort of thing. You can find me on Twitter at manadorkjohn, or my blog is manadork.uk. Try to get them out as a weekly blog. And yeah, I'll be getting another one out again the end of this week.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I've been reading some of your stuff, and I'm really impressed with like your knowledge of stuff, and like your like when you build deck techs, you build like really good links between cards and stuff. I really appreciate that. Like, you kind of like explain like this will go with this sort of thing, and yeah, and like your and then like we were saying off air before we started recording, you do quite often leave your mocks field on there as well, so anything you've built.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, deck techs can be pretty long, and not everybody has the time to go into this as much as I like to. So, you know, I try to summarize it into different sections, and so I can't talk about everything, and not everybody wants to read about mana bases either. It's not become that interesting to read about, so including a link makes it lots easier for people to go see everything that I include.
Does it give me multiple types of mana, and does it punch me in the face? Those are the kind of the things you have to ask yourself about mana bases, isn't it?
Like, yeah. How much is it going to hurt? Does it make it worth it?
Yeah. But yeah, and as per usual, every guest we've had on that we've been speaking to about Commander, we've asked them 3 basic questions, like as like a little bit of a warm up and an introduction to like the style. So our first question for today is, who's your favourite Commander? This could be who you're playing at the minute, who's your go-to, etc., etc. Who is your favourite Commander to play, and why?
That's a really hard question, because I love Commander, but the one I'm really enjoying playing at the minute is Oboon, Moldiah Ancestor. So he is a Naya landfall deck, and what he does is he gets bigger when you play lands, and then at combat he can turn one of your lands into a creature with power and toughness equal to him. So what I've got in there is I've got lots of ways to play lots of lands at once. I've got Blackblade Reforged because that pumps him up to how many lands you've got, and I've also got a cheeky Inkmoth Nexus in there to get Infects in there.
Oof, that's nasty. That's a nasty little deck you've got going on there. Nice. I think that's dope. In terms of like when you go to a pod or anything, sometimes when you go to play a game of Commander, obviously I've not played many games, if any, I'm mainly basing this off my historic brawl knowledge from Magic Arena, because if you want to play Commander on Arena, that's what you play.
That's what you play.
Who's a commander? Our second question is, who's a commander who you either hate playing against or worries you when you see it in the pod?
Again, I think that's quite a hard question for me to answer. I try to be as welcoming as I can in our play group, so we always, sure you'll have talked about this with other people, have a rule zero conversation and just talk about what game that you're going to have. I think the worst thing I tend to play against is my mate has a very, very strong Malcolm and Breech's is it pirate deck, and I know that can really pop off. So when I see that, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm really gonna have to be on the back foot and prepare for the worst with this one.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like you don't want to play against it. It's just something that it's either going to be a slog or I'm definitely going to lose if I see this.
Yeah.
So my best example is my arch nemesis is Krenko. Krenko, the boss version, not the Street Kingpin version.
Oh really? Oh right, yeah.
Because you turn around for like a minute, you like draw a card, read a card, and then suddenly you've got 30 goblins staring you in the face, and you're like, "Where did you guys come from?" They're like, "Oh yeah, he tapped and then untapped again." Somehow I'm like, "Oh shit." Yeah, like
now I'm knee deep in gobbos.
Yeah, I'm knee deep in gobbos, and then he's obviously played other goblins as well, and yeah, it's just an absolute nightmare when you have to deal with the gobbo horde coming at you. And then our third and final question for these warm up questions is, what's a dream commander deck that you'd love to play? It can be like a commander you have that you've not quite finished, a commander that you'd want, like your dream deck.
Yeah, I am really excited about the Torwaki deck that I've just put on my blog. That looks really interesting. I'm hoping I pull that so that I can build that. But I'm also in the middle of building Raga Draga from the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate set, because it is a Mana Dork tribal, and I have to do a Mana Dork tribal deck. It is sort of my thing.
It is your thing.
That sort of looks like a lot of fun to build.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'd like eventually something a bit more. I've been watching Spike Feeder's CDH tournament thing they've been doing, and I really want to try and build the Urza polymorph deck, because that looks like a fun time.
Yeah, I quite like a few decks. I watch things like Tabletop Jocks, and I watch Elder Dragon Hijinks is a good one.
Yeah.
And I quite like I Hate Your Deck is another good one as well. Is quite good, and there's been quite a few decks on there. But I think the deck I'm really interested in building is either the latest Baldur's Gate Minsk and Boo Planeswalker.
Oh yeah.
Because just giant hamsters, my guy.
Giant hamster, yeah.
And then the other one is I can never say its name right, but Mirorim, the
Mirorim,
dragon cloner.
You can do real mean stuff with that.
On mine, I've got a Magic Arena deck with it, and oh my god, it's awful. I feel bad.
There's a way you can be really mean with it if you get Terror of the Peaks out.
Yeah.
And then is it Earthquake Dragon? Because then you're getting 20 damage on the board by playing that.
Yeah, you end up and then you've got any of the new dragons that roll dice. Like if you can get is it two blue dragons where you roll dice and you get that many cards in hand. Is
that Silver Dragon? Silver Dragon's card in hand, and Bronze's treasure.
Yeah.
I forget what the others do.
So either of those, you get them on field, and you're just like, cool, I've got two of these now. Enjoy. They're coming. And then obviously because of the fact that it makes non-legendaries as well, you can have is it or whatever the blue one with ward.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just there like, yeah. We're done now, and because obviously they've all got flying, so unless somebody's got 15 reaches, which is very unlikely, it's just great. It's so much fun. But yeah, so today we're going to be tapping into your expertise, John, and we're going to be talking about deck techs and deck building and the theory of deck building and stuff like that, because you've got quite a nice theory behind that, and like what makes a good deck build and like the parts of a deck build. But I think the first thing we need to do is we need to like clarify for people who are new to, like myself, what is a deck tech and what is the aim of a deck tech when you write one or record one, because some of them are videos.
Deck tech is I guess the best way to describe it is a summary of a deck, this highlighting the synergies, the main goal of the deck, the way that the ideal opening hand, the ideal way that it would play out from turn 1, 2, 3, and what are your key pieces to make sure that you want to do what the deck aims to do, and where it might fall down, because there's no perfect deck. Every deck has a weakness, and you need to be aware of your own deck's weakness so you can be proactive about it.
Definitely, and I think your deck techs are quite good at that. I like how, again, like that it links cards together. Like you're very good at like explaining, well, this does this, so it would help if you have this and stuff like that. Because nothing with like people on Moxfield, but obviously you can attach primers to your Moxfields as well.
Yeah.
And some of those guys and gals, I love them dearly, but I think you've put more time into this primer than you did any of your university level stuff. Like, Jesus Christ, it is long. It is long as hell. I do not need this entire thing. So I feel like your deck techs, like you say, like they don't go through everything, but because of the level of detail you go into in the key components and like what the conditionings and like the possible pitfalls in what you do, like I don't need the 20-page primer with the deck. Obviously you could do that if you wanted to and like go more in detail, like you say, but like that deck tech is sufficient for me anyway, as especially as a new player.
Most people don't have the time to read that. I try to limit my word count to 2,000 words, which is quite hard on some things because you can really like get down into it, and I have to really be quick because I don't know if this is just me, but I do most of my reading when it's like on my phone, at least when I've got like a quick 5-10 minutes, and so the thing needs to be a 5 or 10 minute read. I don't need it to be longer than that because I'll probably not get back to it. So I think that's about the right size for one of these things, really.
Definitely.
And then we've got the link to Moxfield, so people can just jump on and see it in greater detail and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a real. I didn't think about that until we spoke about it off camera, but that's actually a really good like feature to have because of the fact that like, you actually get to see the cards. Like I know in your deck text you describe them and you like link them and stuff, and I think sometimes you put images on as well. But like seeing them all together sometimes is you can connect the dots, because I do like how Moxfield organises itself. In terms of like the deck text that you write and stuff, what made you decide that you wanted to go for the written blog format, and when did you start your blog? Because a lot of people would have went like straight to like video. Like they do like video essays and stuff like that. But you've gone written. What was the thing about that?
Well, I like talking about EDH in all of its capacity, but I think regular videos or regular podcasts is just not something, especially because I've got a young daughter and a young son and work, it's not something I can commit to give it the time that it needs with editing and post-production. But with writing and stuff, I can dedicate the right amount of time to that, and then I can make any tweaks here and there throughout the week. I can just do like an hour here or there throughout the week, rather than video editing is a long slog. If people don't know, it's a long slog. And and it would also be a skill I've not done before, so it'd be a new skill I'd have to learn. So that lent into that sort of pigeonholed me into that, but it's something I feel like I'm getting much better at as I go along with as well. So
Yeah.
it's something I'm enjoying more as well.
Yeah, I write like as well, like fiction mainly, and like
Yeah.
it's even that's hard to like sit down and do. So like I can imagine that you do have to be quite strict with yourself and give yourself a certain amount of time. It's usually a shorter amount of time than you would like. So
Always a short
yeah,
amount.
so yeah, I completely understand that. Do you obviously you don't have to say what you do for a living, like because that's not what I'm asking. But do you write as part of your work
I
or?
don't actually. No. I just work in pensions. Nothing very exciting there. I part of the writing I think has come from because I'm a glutton for punishment. I also study part time with the Open Uni,
Mhm.
and a lot of my writing is developed through that.
Yeah.
So it's putting that to use.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And when did you decide to start your blog then? Because
It was earlier this year. Yeah,
earlier
it's
this year, I was going to say it
it's,
was pretty new, but it seems to have
it's
got quite a bit of traction.
Yeah, it was a fever dream, I guess, when just after my daughter was born, with me and my wife were taking it in turns to stay up with her because she was very young and needed feeding every couple of hours. And I wanted something to keep myself occupied whilst I was up with her, so I started doing it then. Really, I was up typing. Like I think I did my first one was a quick set review of the LGBTQ secret lair thing. That I just sort of watched something on it and went, right, I'm going to write about this. This is good. I want to write about this. Why it's good for the community. Why it's good for the format.
Yeah,
And it just went from there.
yeah. No, that's dope. It's dope when those things like it's kind of how me and my friend Leon, when we were first locked in for lockdown, came up with the Pod of Many Things. Obviously,
Yeah.
he stepped away, and I kept going, and yeah, it's got middling success. I think a lot of people like to talk to me on Twitter, and like I seem to have people, but those are usually when the best things happen, when you have like an idea just in the back of your mind comes to life, and you get to meet cool people, and you get to experience new things. And now I'm experiencing Commander. I'm thinking about like, oh well, how am I going to do this? Like, I'm really excited deck building. I am so excited for when I finally get my Volo deck up and running. Like,
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
It's going to be so annoying because I also found out that there's a lot of like shapeshifter secondary support, like redundancy, but I also found out that Aaron, street artist, clones tokens.
Yeah, he does. He's real good in
Yeah.
Volo because it doesn't say instant or sorcery. It's just spell.
And then yeah, and then so twinning spell, twinning staff. Sorry, Aaron, Volo, mirror box. Legend rule no longer applies. Like. It's just like I can build quite a good core of like, and then obviously with the legend mirror box as well, it has that thing where if there are multiple cards with the same name, they all get +1/+1 counters equal to the amount of copies. So you're like, here goes, buddy. Like,
it's in my Calamax deck. I put double major in there because it's again say it makes a copy of something, but it loses the legendary subtype. So in Calamax, you can get 3 or 4 Calamaxes, and it gets a bit out of control.
I made with Spark Double. I made 2 Volos on Magic Arena, and ended up with like so many cards. It was unreal. Like it basically did that thing where like there's so many cards on the board that you have to scroll side to side. Because also as well,
starts to cut
out. Because like I tell you what, I also didn't realize as well with the Volo thing, which I learnt through Magic Arena, is mutate like goes off.
Yeah, it does.
Like Auspicious Starix. It's so good because you mutate it like 3 times onto the same card, and it's like, oh, And then so you activate it for the evolution that you put down, but then if you've done it multiple times on the same card, it triggers like twice, and it's like,
it's
so you end up
good.
triggering like 3 times, and then you're just like, I'm gonna put all these things on the field. Enjoy. They all ETB. Enjoy.
There was this really it's a bit broken, but I think this was part of the reason why we put there's a token cap on Arena.
Yeah.
So you could mutate onto Scute Swarm and then play a land, and if you had the Ospirish,
Starix, yeah.
If you had that mutated on top, then you get a copy of that instead of a Scute Swarm, and then you could just get loads of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, Scute Swarm's like one of the things that I'm really excited about, because I think I got one of those in. I think you get Scute Swarm in Quantum Quandrix. I'm pretty sure you do. I might have to check. If I don't, I need to get one, because that would
be... Because I've got that deck. You don't get one, but you should get one for it, because it's good.
Scute Swarm like doubled, and then like just let's keep going, my guys. Let's enjoy.
Gets out of control.
Because I'll tell you one card that also fits into a Voyo deck really well that I never thought would. Gala Greeters. Gala Greeters goes off just all the time. Like, you're just like, I'm gonna do all 3. So there we go. I'm gonna do all 3. I hope you understand that. And this one's gonna get it. And look, my 2 clones of it in certain instances have got it as well.
It's a good card, Gala Greeters. I've got it in my I've got the I run Essex in that Quandrix deck, and I've got it in that. It's good.
I'm also a big fan of cloning Titan of Industry.
Yes, yes, that's really because it comes in with a Rhino token. So when it comes in, Essex sees a Rhino token, and then you can make another copy of it.
Yeah, or the original commander of that deck that goes, you get to make an additional one just because. Like,
it's double. Yeah, that's doubling season on a creature. It's great.
It's like I love. I'm really excited for that, and I'm really excited for to build that. So in order to build that, though, I have been advised by both yourself and some other people to ask you about your theories on deck building and how you build a successful EDH commander deck, and like what the spread is, and I've got some other people talking about that in terms of like specifics. So like I've got J-Ro talking about building tribal decks and what you need in like a tribal deck, and he's got some amazing like stats and stuff, like you need like this match percentage. So I'm gonna get the notebook out on that. But in general, when building a deck, what do I need to do, John? Tell me everything.
The first thing there's 2 ways you can go about building a deck, and there's either you've got a really great card that you've pulled from a pack and you're like, I want to play this, I need a deck to play this in. But usually the way that usually goes is you find the commander that you want to run, and that will determine quite a lot for your deck, unless you're looking for one particular line in your deck. So then the first thing I do is I look at the cost of the card and what it does. So if a card like Firesong and Sunspeaker is quite an expensive card to run, and it wants you to cast lots of spells, it wants you to get lots of life from it, and then use that life to gain some of the incentive. That's all mana heavy in colours that aren't really great at ramp. So mana base is then the first thing I look at. So in a deck like that, it'd probably need 12 mana rocks in it. But then in a Simic deck, where you're getting lots of lands out, Simic is green and blue for people who don't know. Then you don't need that many, and you can tailor it. So what I tend to go with is anywhere between, look at the mana base, and anywhere between 5 and 15, depending on the colours and how expensive it's going to be. I know that seems like it's quite a wide range, but there are some decks that just don't need it at all. Like my Oboon deck doesn't really need anything more than a Soul Ring and an Arcane Signet, because it's so good at just dumping lands out. Doesn't need anything else. And then card draw. This is or card advantage. It can be so easy to get bogged down with. I want to play all these great spells. I want to get expropriate out. I want to get this. I want to get this. But you need to be able to draw those cards. So try and get 10 pieces of card drawing in there. This isn't cards that say play this and draw one card. It's a card that gets you more than its cost to get into hand. So think of things like Frantic Search. It's a card that you you get 3 cards for the price of 1 there, or something like that. You don't want to get more cards in your hand than you are having to get out of your hand to get the cards. And then from there, you can start filling in the gaps of your synergy pieces. You want to get removal in there, interaction. If you're running blue, counter magic is a form of removal. If you're running black, that's got the best kill spells. White can exile lots of stuff.
White has a lot of suppression as well, like
Yeah.
borrow time, candle circle, whatever it is, candle trap. That's the one.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah, I mean, white is the color of stacks, which is a bit of a dirty word, but
don't tell Lunch that he will get upset. They will get upset.
Yeah, I don't play stacks myself, but it is a viable strategy. And that is what white is good at. The reason why a lot of white decks suffer, I think, is because they don't lean into that part of white because it's a bit frowned upon.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the best card, Dranith Magistrate is a stacks piece, is really good. Thalia, good card, stacks piece. The real land tax to a degree, whilst it's doesn't really. People might think twice about dumping the lands out if they're scared about you being able to get 3 lands from your deck every time they have more lands than you. Esper Sentinel, paying the 1 is a form of stacks. If you're having to deny somebody's resources, that's them not doing something, and that is what white's really good at.
Yeah. I still think that Esper Sentinel is ridiculous, considering it's like Ristic Study on a creature.
It's not as busted because it's 1, but yeah, it's still good.
Yeah,
it's really good if you can pump it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like if you can pump it up, it's equal to its power, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's like a 1/2, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
When you first play it, but yeah, if you can get it stronger, then you'll always get the.
But yeah, and it's just insane. But yeah, no, that's really interesting actually that you start at the mana base, because like a lot of people would go, well, the mana base is pretty much like I get one of every like non-basic land. I'm gonna play as many of these as I need in terms of the basic lands, and then every deck has Arcane Signet and Soul Ring. Most will run there if there's a signet for their specific color match, or a locket or whatever. They most run, maybe not lockets actually, I take that one back, but they'll probably run and then but I think that's really a really good point you make as well, because the different colors that you use are going to change the way you build a deck. So for example, I play Jund as well.
Yeah.
And Jund can kind of stall quite badly in terms of mana, because a lot of the time, a lot of Jund spells aren't about you putting mana out. Because of the fact that everybody's like, but it's got green in it. And I'm like, no.
It's also got red and black. And he cares more about killing things than he does about ramping stuff up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Corvold, he cares about you sacrificing stuff, not about
Zeatora, the Incinerator, yep, we're gonna Zeatora this, and hope for the best. We've got Jaxis, making copies of stuff. It's just you don't really you can really stall on mana, and that's probably that's my standard deck on Arena, and I'm I've got so many great cards in hand, but I'm like, fuck, I've got nothing to even with Riveter's Overlook or whatever, the fetch land thing. Yeah, you're just I've not got enough. I've just never got enough when I need it. I can't play this Mr. Orofeo. Let me play him. God damn it.
It's not always about having more lands. I mean, land base again. It depends on the deck. Again, Oboon cares about land, so it's got 40. You know, he wants them out. But my Anya Turbo Madness deck, cutting it really thin, and it's only got 29. So
Oh,
you know, it's pretty low to the ground.
that's naughty though. But I'm guessing that's got a lot of fetch in it, and like.
It's not because it's only two. It's got like evolving wilds and stuff, but it's because Anya's ability, the original Anya, is all about discarding cards. And if you discard it, so you can tap her to discard a card and draw a card. If a card you discarded had madness on it, then you can untap her. So you can just go for, if you've got all madness cards, you can just churn through your deck, and so you don't want to hit lands because you want to empty your deck out so you get to your win line.
Yeah. So yeah, I find it quite interesting that you also separated it into those categories. Like, and this seems to be like the deck building like meta, I guess. That sounds really weird to put it that way, but it's like mana base and then ramp. Like, and it's usually in kind of like in this order. They swap them around sometimes, but the categories are always the same. Like mana base, ramp, card draw, removal, creatures. Creatures seem to go last all the time.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it's those categories, and why do you think it's like creatures always seem to be last? I will admit, creatures always seem to be last. It usually starts with either ramp or land base. Like, why do you think it starts like that and like ends on creatures?
Well, there's a really good video from EDH Rec that talk about this actually, and they call it eating your EDH veggies. And creatures and big spells are the things that you really want to play. So they're your dessert. They're the things you really want. But you've got to do all the other things first. So you need the ramp, you need the stuff that lets you get there. Because otherwise, you know, you can... And we've all been guilty of this. We've all been guilty of, I'm going to fill my deck with all this great stuff. But then you can never play the great stuff. You've got to be... you've got to be really like brutal with, right, these are the stuff I really want. So then how do I get there? And well, the way I get there is like resources, so land and ramp, and then I need to draw those cards, so card draw, and then I bet I need something to protect those creatures, so then interaction.
Yeah. Yeah, and like that's a really good analogy for it, actually. That idea of like these are the veggies, and like you have to eat these to get big and strong to be able to get to the bit that you want to do. Is there any like common deck building faux pas that you see, or like not faux pas, that'd probably be the wrong word, but is there any like blunders that people make when building a deck that you notice quite frequently?
We're all guilty of this. I think it's a card that you really want to perform well, and it's not. You get this. Oh, if this it's magical Christmas, and if these things line up, then this card is going to do everything I want it to do. And the thing is, it rarely does. And I've put those cards so many times in my deck, and then I'll still be like looking through the list and like, is this really going to happen? I think a good example of this is actually I've got a Tatsunari deck, and I've just got an Adnors in there thinking this is going to be great in this deck, because this deck is going to... What I really want to do is I want to get loads of cheap enchantments out, storm off, and then play Thoracle and Brain Freeze and just win that way. And if I can't get that line, then I've got lots of great enchantments that have either drained people out with life, and I can just make Tatsunari big and swing out. But the thing is, I put it in there to try it out, but I guarantee I'm going to hit every 5-drop that I've got in the deck.
Yeah.
it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, you're just there like, oh no, like it's not happening for me, guy.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
I have a really bad feeling that that's going to happen with me, and the card I've got that's that for me at the minute is in my werewolf deck that I'm building. I've got Wolf of Devil's Breech.
Right, yeah.
It's a mythic rare red creature for... Let me see if I can find it. Right. It's a mythic rare red creature. It looks cool, and it sounds like it will do well, but every time I look at it, I kind of go, I don't think it's going to work. Wolf of Devil's Breach, it's from Shadows over Innistrad. It's 2 red mana, 3 colorless, so CMC 5. It's not legendary, but it says whenever Wolf of Devil's Breach attacks, you may pay 1 red and 1 colorless and discard a card. If you do, Wolf of Devil's Breach deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to the discarded card's converted mana cost. So,
right, okay.
I have the potential with some of the big cards that you have in a werewolf deck, like Tarvar's Huntmaster, stuff like that, to get rid and blow up some like big things.
Dealing 6 to something?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
Feels good.
and like most, like on average, a werewolf card is normally about 3 CMC.
Yeah.
Like, so the fact that I'm like, that would be alright. Maybe I can use like Wolfkin Outcast. Like, that's original CMC is like 7. Like, unless you've got no, it's 6, sorry. It's 6 CMC because it goes down to like 3, 4 with the effect. Like, I think that'll work. And then I keep looking at it and I'm like, but that does mean discarding a card. And I don't have any like major retrieval in my deck. And I'm like,
yeah, so Gruul colours, you've got some
you've got Garlabed.
Breed,
You've got Garlabed Recovery, and that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Like, yeah, there's Noxious Revival, but that's an expensive card to buy, I think. But it's a good card. I mean, you've got other Gaia's Blessing shuffles your graveyard back into your library.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways around it, but yeah, like you say, they're limited in green. It's not really green's thing so much.
No,
and red, not a chance.
No, red's all about sacrificing stuff to do bigger. Like, they've got a whole card that is literally like sacrifice monsters to me so I can ping for 1 damage.
Yeah. So it's a 5 CMC creature, and then it costs 2 more to do its ability on attack.
And you've got to discard the card.
Yeah, so
and it's a 5/5 creature, so it's not like
does it have haste?
No, it does not.
So you're spending 5 mana to not do anything for a turn because you can't use its ability until the next turn.
Admittedly, if I have the right things out, a lot of werewolves, for some reason, don't ask me why, they've all decided that they give haste to everything that's a werewolf. That's
good though. Haste is an underrated keyword.
I think it's I think Village Messenger might have haste on as a keyword, and a Village Watch as well might have it on as a keyword. Like, give all other werewolves haste, I think. Oh no, Moonrise Intruder has Menace. But there is another werewolf that I've got that gives everything haste as well. Like, gives
what you could do. I don't know if it was meant to turn into sort of like
it's
green session, but why not? So, because you're in Gruul, you can put in cards. They're not werewolves, but Anger and Brawn, and they work really well with that card because they want to be in the graveyard.
I was thinking of, like, that's one of the reasons why I also want to get the Vrondis precon, because it has an Anger in it.
Yeah, Anger's real good.
I'm like, if I can get Anger out, like out of my hand into the graveyard somehow. Like, there's quite a few discard cards in Gruul.
Red's form of card draw that really is.
Yeah, so I can do that. I haven't seen if anything's got Brawn in it. But I suppose I could buy that single if we may have to do like a stream on Card Market or something. You can teach me, wise master, because like I said before we started running, I've been a fool and I have bought off.
Don't buy from eBay. Buy from Magic Madhouse, or if they don't have it, Card Market.
Yeah, admittedly, Magic Madhouse have pretty much got everything. Although I will say, like, let me see if I can find it. The Borderless Art Arlen I just got. Arlen Pax Hope. Most places are selling that for quite a lot. And yeah, so this one.
Yeah.
I got it in 2 holographic wolf tokens for 2 foil wolf tokens for a tenner. So I'm like,
that's nice.
And I think it's like £8 on its own in most places. So I'm like, you know what, that's all right, that's fine. Like, foil tokens, like, and sorry, this is usually 12, sorry, on its own. So I found it on eBay. Yeah. Although I did just overpay for a double major. Now that I look at card market, I'm like, oh no. I've paid like almost £4 for that card, and it didn't need to be that much. I'm like, no.
It happens, mate. We've all done it.
Yeah, I'm now like they're like, I've been buying so many cards off eBay since I got back into the game. Like, but yeah, no. So yeah, I agree with your summation of the Wolf of Devil's Breach though. If I can get haste on it, so I can swing straight away.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that would actually be dope. Because even like things like Fangblade Brigand, which isn't really a great card. Like, it's just a werewolf to have. I think Fangblade Eviscerator gets +1/+0 against first strike. Creatures you control get +2/+0 to the end of the turn for 5 red. So that's 4 CMC. I'm going to do 4 damage to a creature. Go on then. Like,
yeah, I've just remembered a card. I don't know how it's probably expensive now, actually, because it's quite an old card from when I first started playing Magic. It's called Mana Echoes. It's from Onslaught.
oh yeah, that's expensive.
Is it?
Yeah. If it's from Echoes era, like you're definitely looking at a bit of a thingamajig there, a bit of a price.
Yeah, let's have a look. Oh yeah, it's like 20 quid.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good card then.
That's a good card.
Got it in my sliver deck.
Yeah, I see you. I see what you're doing there. I appreciate it at least. Like, but yeah, no. Oh, hang on. Yep, it's working. Sorry. But yeah, no. I think that deck building is also a really interesting thing because it also tells you a lot about someone, like the way they build their decks and stuff. Like, I genuinely believe that anybody who puts land destruction into their deck is like, you know, the scene in Watchmen with Rorschach, where he's like, I'm not locked in here with you, you're locked in here with me. I feel like that is genuinely what it's like if you have to fight someone who plays land destruction. You're like, I'm sorry, what? Like, since when? Like you're actually psychotic. Let me out. Like,
it's sort of like I can't remember what command I was going to run this as. It might have been that John Arenicus. It was basically a stop hitting yourself deck.
yeah.
But I've got a really mean, let's call it my Turgid God of Salt deck, and that's got some land destruction in the form of people have to sacrifice permanents, and if they've got no permanents to sacrifice, no non-land permanents, then they're forced to sacrifice their lands.
Ooh.
So. But that only ever gets brought out for try-hard magic.
Yeah.
It's just try-hard magic only.
Yeah. That does sound like pretty awful. Like,
yeah, but then you play against people who are running like, you know, like the Breachers line from a Malcolm line where it's using Glinthorpe Buccaneer or Timner Thrasios and that sort of like level of deck.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that, and I'm like, oof, that would hurt. So, one thing that I'm really interested to get your opinion on is the idea of lines. So, what do we mean when I talk about a line? What is a line? And why is that important to know what the lines are in your deck?
So a line is if you've got your deck has got a specific way that it's going to win, like depending on its commander, and there are some cards that are going to be your key win strategies in this deck. So it's how you get to that. The line is from when you've got your hand, when you've drawn your hands or mulligans, whatever you need to get away, how you're going to get from those cards to the cards in your library that are going to win you the game. So that's why card draw is important. Card selection or whatever you've got in there to get through your deck is so important because that's how you're going to win. So, trying to think of an example off the top of my head. In my Torwaki tech that I've done recently, that's gonna win by ping damage primarily, because it wants you to cast instants and sorceries, gain life, and so one of your key cards is Well of Lost Dreams, because that lets you pay that life back and get cards equal to the amount of life that you've paid. So that's really good in a deck where you could be doing like 6 damage every now and again, drawing 6 cards just for like casting a spell. Really good. And then in that deck, I've also put a bit of infect in there, because that's another line you can put something like grafted exoskeleton on one of your group pingers, like electrostatic field, and then if you can cast lots of spells, that's just going to infect everybody out. Or death touch, if you put death touch on these pingers, they can wipe a board pretty consistently.
Yeah.
And so the way to get there is gain a life, draw the cards, and so that you need that ways to get to that situation to begin with.
Yeah, totally. Like it's about like like you said, the pathway to get to what you need and what you need to do. And most of the time, the lines are, what I understand anyway. Most lines are always the same, but there's just multiple ways to get to the same line. From what I
That's right.
understand, redundancy and
Yeah,
what's it called? Contingency are the main things with a line. If you have a line that you need to win, that you need ways to work with it, because Magic is an interactive game. Like
yeah. Do you need is redundancy is really good, because a good example of why that's important again is my Anya Turbo Madness deck. It's got like 2 win cons in, and if the main way I win is have you heard of a World Gorger loop? Do you know
I've
what
heard
World
of what I
Gorger?
know what World Gorger does, but what's the loop?
So World Gorger Dragon is, you want to get it into your graveyard, and then you want to reanimate it with one of 3 aura enchantments, which is Necromancy, Dance of the Dead, or Animate Dead.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes into the battlefield, it will exile all the permanents, including the enchantment that's fallen off it, which was attached to it. And now, because that's gone, Will Gorger goes to the graveyard, and then you can then target again with the enchantment because it comes back into the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that as long as it doesn't get disrupted, and then tap your land, so float as much mana as you like.
Oh, so it's almost like Blink, because I'm guessing World Gorger Dragon. Does World Gorger Dragon only exile things as long as it's on the field?
It exiles all of your permanents
Yeah.
when it enters the battlefield. So, but if somebody kills Will Gorger Dragon at just the right time, you'll exile all your stuff and can't do anything about it. And that
Yeah.
happens quite a lot. It's like very glass cannony. It's really fun when it pans out, but it is a glass cannon.
Interesting.
And that's okay. That's what the deck does. It's like a all or nothing, and that's fine. And then there's obviously more robust wins out there, like my Tatsunari one, where I can just pay lots of dead, like the Omen of Sea, Omen of Dead, and those really cheap enchantments, and then storm them out and just mill myself for the Foracle win, which feels a bit dirty, but it is consistent and can get there pretty easily.
That's what you want to do, isn't it? You want to you need to build your decks to be robust and consistent. Otherwise, what are you doing? I feel anyway. Like I don't know.
You can get lost in it quite easily if you've got. There's a fine line between having different redundancy in your deck and having lots of different avenues. You don't want to get lost in the woods, like looking for something. Not all parts fit all parts.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely understand that, and I think that's a really good thing. Obviously, with the internet and with things like Card Market, Moxfield, because if you sometimes on Card Market, like they'll sell like bundles and stuff, or they'll sell like almost like pre-con decks already that they've made. Some people, not everyone, but some people think that the art of deck building is kind of like dead because of that. because of like the idea of because of like net decking, basically, isn't it? Like net decking net decking killed deck building as an art form because
no, it didn't.
well, I don't think so either. Like this is just I've got like a list of spicy topics for each guest.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like this is my spicy topic for you, like the net decking like thing. What do you think about net decking?
I think people who complain about net decking are just people who have feel bads about losing, I guess, to a deck that is always being played. You know, like they always see this deck and like, oh, I'm getting fed up of playing against this deck. And I get it because I hate Ruin Crab, right? Hate it. When I was playing Standard Arena and there was mill decks and turn one Ruin Crab, I was like, so, so it has no reason to be a 0/3 for a 1-drop. The problem with that being a 1-drop in standard is most removal costs 3 at
Yeah,
that time. It was like, or if you're lucky, drowning the lock, but you'd have to be playing blue or black
yeah,
at that point. So turn 2, you've already potentially lost 6 cards because they'll either have played another Ruin Crab or they've played a fetch land with another thing. So there's a good chance you've churned through your removal already, or at least
yeah.
part. I think it's
You
really
don't have time to mess about with Ruin Crab on a 60 card stack, like on
not
a 60
really.
card library. Like if you're losing 6 cards, that's a tenth of your deck gone already.
Already.
Yeah,
It's less because you've already drawn 7.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's brutal, and or that sort of thing. I get the frustration, but it's not net decking that's the problem. Not really. It's not being able to see ways to combat that deck archetype. And the way to combat that deck archetype was escape mechanics from Feros Beyond Death.
Yeah,
Yeah, mill my deck because I want you to. I want to get Croxer out, and then I'm going to hurt you.
yeah.
That sort of thing.
Madness as well is not
Madness, yeah,
madness. Yeah, madness, delirium as
or
well.
flashback, that
That's,
sort of
yeah,
thing. Stuff that cares about the graveyard. That's what
yeah,
you want to go with. Yeah, mill me. I don't care. Or if you're yeah, that's it, really, and that's fine. Just it broadens having to play against these different decks makes you a better player because it will make you think about different strategies, how to you get around them more consistently. Precons are excellent. I love precon decks. They are great at introducing new players to the Magic format who don't know where to begin with Commander. Commander has, because it is an eternal format. Yeah, exactly. It's so good. Strixhaven was so good as well. I love the Strixhaven.
The Strixhaven and the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms precons are like banging. Like even though Midnight Hunt is my favorite set, I wasn't like massively like I could have taken or leaving them, like taken or left them, leaving. What the hell was that? Taken or left them, but like with Strixhaven and Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, I'm like, there is so much choice here, and like it's so good. Like,
yeah, the Strixhaven ones were brilliant because they went through different colors, the color combinations, but they weren't necessarily what you expect from them. Like the Lawhold one, which is the Boros colors, red and white. Usually that's all aggro, aggro, aggro. This one was like artifact graveyard recursion.
yeah.
That's not something that he usually cares about, and it was great.
Well, it's the
Um,
same with with Quantum Quandrix. Like Simic usually doesn't deal with like lots of like token
it's more of a Selesnya color
yeah.
thing, that green and white, green and blue. There's some, but not that much.
Green and
And
blue
yeah,
is about I want to put stuff down, but you're not allowed to, like sort of thing usually.
it's green and blue is like I'm going to ramp loads, I'm going to draw lots of cards, and then I'm going to get a big thing before you can do anything about it.
Yeah,
Usually, but yeah, no, it's great. Silver Quill Precon that's got loads of political stuff in there. So good. Like honestly, there's not a bad Precon in that deck. And usually, when they release some Precon, there's one stinker out of the 4. There's always one, and it's
yeah.
like, but there was not a stinker in that cycle at all.
I
But
don't
it's
know.
so good. It introduces people, and not just that. There's a lot of. This is where you get quite a lot of expensive reprints from a set because you don't like to reprint things like, I get, well, Jessica's Will would never be in standard because it's not standard legal, but that was reprinted because it was reprinted in
Exit from
the
Exile, the Baldur's Gate.
Gruul one,
Yeah.
from Baldur's Gate. Because that was only printed in Commander Legends, and it's such a good card that it shot up in price. It needed to be reprinted. Now, reprints is another topic that's highly debated because there's some cards that should be reprinted that probably won't be reprinted.
Sakashima of the Two Faces, if anybody out there in Wizards is listening, I'd really, really appreciate like a reprint of that, because Sakashima's Apprentice as well, like, Jesus Christ, why are they both £40?
Yeah, and you could be, I mean, it could be a bit facetious because there was one of them in Mystery Booster, but again, there's so many cards in Mystery Boosters. I mean, I love a Mystery Booster, but it is just gambling at the end of the day, and you could just get nothing from it.
I'm not encouraging that. I'm not encouraging like proper gambling. Like,
no, it is really. I mean, I suppose you are getting something in return, but you know, you could get a mana crypt, or you could get something that's not quite a mana crypt. It's not like, you know, I've done, got off on a bit of a tangent here.
Yeah.
So, net decking and precons. Precons are really good for introductory players, and are really good for if you want to build a deck and you need 50% of it, you can just get it from the precon because it's got the colours of the lands you need, it's got the ramp that you need, and it's got some card draw that you can use, and then you can just use the rest to put in what you want to do. Really good for those things.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I'm going to do with I'm going to play a few games with Quantum Quandrix, and then I'm going to turn it into my Volo deck, basically. Because like, some people buy 2 copies of things. I'm not that kind of guy. Like, once I've played it a couple of times, I went, yeah, that's okay. It's getting turned into something. That's pretty much what I did with my Challenger Gruul Stompy deck. Like, I literally unboxed it. I've got a video of that coming soon, and all throughout the video, all I'm doing is like, that will go in the werewolf deck, that won't go in the werewolf deck. Like, it's just like, I'm just gonna blow this up. So, you know.
Net decking, I probably wouldn't be having a blog if I thought net decking was bad, because I write about decks. But again, the internet has so much information out there, and there's so many cards in Magic the Gathering. It's hard to know exactly what works with what, and having these deck lists and seeing them, it gives you some inspiration, some direction into what to do. Not everybody. There'll be some people that copy a deck, and if they do, so what? That's great. That means they like your deck. That means you've built a great deck, and somebody else wants to do that, play with that thing. That's great, you know. And if not, then they're using it as a guide into thinking, oh, so this is what they want to do. I can use these cards which are similar to do the same thing. You know, it's great. It's just, EDH is about having a good time with friends, building a great community, and sharing information and sharing deck text and ideas is all about that. And I think there's nothing more. It doesn't embody the community more than sharing deck ideas, because that is what it's all about.
That's one of the things I love about the Commander format and the content that I've watched, is that people get like really excited when they see something happen that they've never seen before in play, or like, they're like, let me look at that. Obviously they ask, sometimes they just reach across, but they grab it and they look at the card and they're like, I've never seen what this
what is this?
And like, you're like, oh shit, that's actually busted. Like, and like, obviously we know about something called, I don't know if you've heard of the Command Zone effect, where where the cost of a card skyrockets because of the fact that they use it. One of the reasons I think that there are 2 things I want to get your opinion on before like we start wrapping up, because I feel like this is a good place to start winding down, chilling out. And so the first thing, I think one of the main reasons that people have a problem with net decking is because I don't know what it is about, like, and because it's usually older nerds, like the people who are like late 30s, early 40s, like, and this is a massive generalization. It's usually
I'm falling
men.
into that category myself. I should have, you know.
You're a good one. You're a good egg. I appreciate it. I think they want people to suffer for their nerddom because they did. Like, and I come at this from both the comic book space that I've always been in since I was like a tiny kid. It's how I learned to read because of my like neurodivergence, and tabletop RPGs. Elder it's like the exact opposite of like elder emos. Elder emos just want to tell kids about the music that they love music and stuff like that. Whereas elder nerds want you for some reason to suffer. They want you to like, well, I suffered, so you have to too. And I'm like, fuck's sake, why? Why are we doing this? Why do you not want me to like why do you not want me to have a good time? Like, why can't I make this easier for myself? Because like, well, you didn't build it yourself, so actually, like, so I've had a few people talk about that, and like a lot of the comments you see online are kind of in that like almost like putting their glasses up on their nose, like actually, like but yeah, do you think that's exactly? Do you think that that's a thing, that it's like that elder nerd like wanting younger nerds to suffer like they did?
I've only ever seen this sort of stuff online. I've never seen it in person. I think, but I'm kind of quite privileged in a way. I don't think anyone would particularly say that sort of stuff to me anyway. And if they did, I'd probably, well, there's no polite way of saying it. I'd tell them to do one. Don't want to swear too much on the old YouTube shows. But yeah, it definitely exists on the internet. I've not been a victim of it. It definitely exists on the internet, and it should not exist on the internet. It's bullying. It's downright bullying. And if these people have been bullied for the things they like, then they shouldn't be bullying other people liking the things they like in the way that they like. That is it. Bottom line, it's bullying.
Admittedly, I've never seen it in Magic, but it's more in real life. I've seen it more in tabletop RPGs. Like,
oh really?
In TTRPGs, you always get like the elder like balding man telling like young girls that they're not real RPG players because they haven't played this edition, or they've used this ability wrong, or like, how come you don't know what this spell does, or like, why do you need spell cards? Right? I'm just like, dude. They're like, oh, you've never opened the book. Like, there's a few more people in real life like that in TTRPGs. I didn't know if it was the same in the Magic space, but
I haven't come across it myself.
I've never come across it in real life online.
I've seen the discourse online before, and people are always braver on the internet, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's just a sad fact about it.
And but, then, oh yeah, sorry, you go first.
I'm just going to reiterate. It's bullying, and no one should have to take it at all.
No.
If you like something and you like the way that it is, and you do it in your own way, good for you. That is the whole point of Magic the Gathering and the Commander, is to just find something and do dumb stuff with it, and that's it. That is what it's meant to be. Just have a good time. Doesn't matter what some troll says.
And then the second thing I wanted to ask you about and ask your opinion on is when I first got into Magic the Gathering, it was Duel of the Planeswalkers on Xbox 360.
Sure.
My friends used to play all the time. Planeswalkers pretty much were just becoming like a main thing.
Yeah.
And so Duel of the Planeswalkers comes out. We go and get our free decks, because you get a free deck if you completed the game. Of one colour, 30 cards though, not 60. So I was like, what the fuck? Like,
half a deck.
Yeah, you got half a deck, and it was all right. I got the Garruk one because I was the green player. My friend.
Yeah.
So the guy in the store, in the LGS, actually came up with the greatest analogy for how people play decks, or build decks. Sorry. And they are this way. He said it like this, and I want to see if you agree. He said there are 3 types of deck builder. And he modelled them on racing cars. So
okay,
there's your pilot, what we would call a pilot, but he called it, there's a stock car racer. because in stock cars, you literally buy a car and you have to race it as it is. You're not allowed to like edit it or anything. You can change the paint job, but in stock car racing, you're not allowed to change anything. So you give them that car, and they can drive that car really, really well, like because they know how it works. They know where they can push it and stuff like that. That's your pilot. You've got your mid-tier person, who's your F1 driver, because F1 cars have a base thing that everybody has to like abide by, but then you can use your intellect in your teams, and that's why we have the Constructor Cup in F1 to make edits to the car that would make it perform better. Like you can have different parts and different things. So you've got your pilot, you've got your tuner, as he called it, who's your F1 driver, and I think we call them tuners as well, like in the modern era, like deck tuners. And then he said, then there's just like exotic like supercar racers that just build things because they can, and they work, and they either go fast or look good, like and he was saying like he put it as those three ways. You've got a pilot, which is like your stock car racer, your tuner, which is your F1 racer, and then your like from the ground up builder, who is just like your supercar racer. Would you agree with that like analogy, that's what deck building's like?
I guess there's some truth to it. I think there's probably a bit more nuance there.
Yeah.
Because so there is definitely, pilot, I guess, somebody who hands them a deck and they just learn how to play it, and then somebody who tunes it, but there's going to be some overlap there as well. But yeah, I'd say that there's probably some truth to that, but doesn't really matter, does it?
No.
It's just
do what you
do what you want to do. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, John, it's actually been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and I've really enjoyed our time together. I'm hoping that you'll take me under your wing to teach me things like Moxfield and Card Market.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can stream together, or organise something or something, and we can do something fun like that. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with me. It's been really informative, and I'm gonna hopefully use this knowledge moving forward.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I'm glad I came on. Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome anytime. So before we do the sign off, let's remind people who you are, what you do, and where they can find you on the internet.
So I'm Dork John. You can find me on Twitter at manadorkjohn, or you can find my blog at manadork.uk.
Yeah.
I do have Instagram and Facebook, but I'm mostly active on Twitter.
Brilliant. And as per usual, I have been your favourite friendly furbog who hangs around the internet. My name's Addison, and whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are, I hope you're safe, I hope you're well, and like me and John have said, you just do you, man. You enjoy yourself, you have a great time. Ladies, you too, and any of my non-binaries out there, I hope that you are having a great time and people are accepting you for who you are, because you deserve that. Look after yourselves, people. Good night.